Also, you may be able to log in and follow along while we do this presentation. Feel free to navigate to lms.tamu.edu and then locate that login button on the top right-hand corner. Use your TamuNet ID and password to log into Canvas. Also, while you are in that lms.tamu.edu website, also friendly reminder that there are huge amount of resources and they're available to help you with the migration from eCampus to Canvas. Also different information documentation on engaging with Zoom and different multimedia tools that we have adopted and added to Canvas, as well as information on training, which I am going to show you. So we are in the lms.tamu.edu site, and this is where we have a lot of the documentation that we have put together to help you with this migration, to help you, once you are in Canvas, help you develop all the different knowledge that you need to develop your courses. Right here, I am in the training and support page. And this is where we post our weekly training schedule and weekly office hours for you to check out. And I'm sure this is what you use today to join this training. Just a friendly reminder that every week around Friday afternoon, we update this schedule to reflect the new presentations, new training opportunities that you may join. So feel free to check these on a weekly basis to see if there is a new topic that you may be interested in. Also, I would like to point out Time Savers is a great way for you to find a table of contents in just one place of all of the different things that you may find on this website. So it's a great resource. That's why it's called Time Savers. It serves the purpose of a table of contents, hyperlinked, and it just takes you to different places on the lms.tamu.edu website. So feel free to check out these one, as it may help save some time by locating things in one place. So feel free to locate that one. Also wanted to point out that all of these trainings that we offer from the Office for Academic Innovation, we post them in our YouTube channel. So if you need to leave early or if you're missing out part of the training today, feel free to find these training sessions at some point in the future. You will be able to see it in the YouTube channel. You can see we are usually posting all our training that we record is right here on this channel. So feel free to locate this recording at some point in the future where we'll be posting it in here. Okay, so let me navigate back to my PowerPoint. In today's training, we are going to focus on the following outcomes. Participants will be able to add extra credit to an existing assignment. You will be able to assign extra credit with a new assignment, add extra credit in a quiz, as well as create extra credit within a rubric. This session will cover all of these different ways that you can add or assign extra credit in Canvas to your students. It helps if you have a foundation on the basics of Canvas, especially on how quizzes work, how assignments work. So this is just making sure that you have a foundation on how Canvas works. What is extra credit? Extra credit is extra points that you want to give students. Maybe you want to give students a point for an extra point or an extra few points for an assignment that they submitted, or maybe you want to create some extra assignment for students that are interested in getting that extra credit. Have to tell you that extra credit in Canvas is not a default option. However, there are different ways to assign students that extra credit, which is what we are going to cover today. What are all those different options you have in Canvas to assign that extra credit. This is one of the ways that you can assign extra credit. And it is just using an assignment that you already have. Maybe it's an assignment that you already graded. And you said, I'm going to give some of my students extra points because they did more than expected. So I'm just going to give them these extra points, or perhaps extra points that you said these are extra points for participation, and I'm going to add them to an existing assignment. So we just need to locate the assignment, and that can be directly within the assignments area and then navigate into a speed grader. Or you can just go into the gradebook, locate the column that has that assignment, and locate that cell for that specific student, because maybe it's only a few students that are going to be awarded those extra points, and just enter that extra point. So an example that I have here on the screenshot is this assignment was worth 50 points, but I chose this one student and I'm going to give student 5 extra points. So I'm going to edit this, whichever score my student had. I'm going to assume the student has 50 points, then I give the student 5 extra points. So now the student has a score of 55 on this assignment. Well, let's navigate to Canvas and I'll show you how that works. So I'm right here in my course, and I have this assignment that I call a draft submission. This assignment is worth 50 points. And let's see, it is, you set it up as a regular assignment that you will create, right? Maybe any writing assignment that you have, you will create it as usual, adding your instructions, adding the amount of points that is worth, just regular points, 30 points, 50 points, 100 points, whichever points the assignment it is worth for everybody. You will put it in the assignment group if you are working with assignment groups. In submission types, you will decide what submission. I have online. I want my students to upload a file of this draft. You will decide on the amount of attempts that you want the students to have. Plagiarism review if you want to have turn it in, scanning these writing papers. And then you will assign it to, the class. Okay. So I had that. I'm going to click cancel because it was already set. My assignment was already set. As you can see right here on my right-hand side, I already have 3 submissions. They have not been graded. So I navigate to the speed grader. I'm going to say, well, these students, I went through the writing assignment, I went through her draft, I checked her writing, and perhaps I've made some annotations using the document viewer in the tools and document viewer. So we are going to say, great, this student gets the 50 points, but you know what, this student has done great in participation. I am going to give her 5 extra points. So you can see right on that box on the right-hand side, I am grading the student, I'm giving her 5 extra points. I can continue, I can submit that grade for her, and she will be able to see that she got, extra points, and I can continue doing my grading. I can continue to the next student, and I can decide whether or not this other student is going to get points as well. That is one way. Once, let me close out of this. Once the grades are posted, because let's say this is an older assignment, it was already graded. I'm going to go into my gradebook, and I am going to, okay, I'm already in my module extra credit in Canvas. And here it is. Assignment, let's see, where did it go? There it is. Let me just drag it closer. There we go. There is the draft submission. You can see the one that I already graded for my student Isabel. I already gave her those extra 5 points. These other icons are indicating that I need to grade my other student. So let's pretend that I had already graded that student and he had gotten 35 points. But if I go back at a later time to give him extra points, I'm going to say I'm going to give him 5 points as well. So instead of 35, it's going to be 40. So I can change that and it gets adjusted right there. So you saw the percentages move a little bit as well. So basically you saw how I was able to add those extra points to an existing assignment within the speed grader, and I was able to do it right here within the grade book as well. So that is one way you can add extra credit. Another way you can add extra credit is through a quiz. In a quiz, you are going to find a section called fudge points. And the fudge points is the area that is going to allow you to give a student extra points. This is something that you can do while you're grading. So let's go back to my course in Canvas, navigate to that module. So here I have a quiz in this module. So I set up my quiz the same way you will set up your quizzes, writing your instructions, you know, setting up all the different settings that you want. If you want to show students feedback right after they took the quiz, you know, if you want to shuffle the answers, you decide on all of these different options, who is going to take the quiz, when is it due, all of that. On my questions, I place all of my questions. You will do all of that the same way you are used to creating quizzes in Canvas. What you're going to do is when you are in the speed grader of that quiz, you're going to see per student, you will go through, you know, grading their questions and all of that. Right here at the bottom is where I see my fudge points box. So that is where I can add extra points. So I can see this student has 6.67 out of 11. Let's say I just want to give this student 2 extra points. So I write 2 in the fudge points. Please remember to click on these update scores. That is really, really key before you move on to grade another student. Because if I type the extra fudge points I want to give the student and then I move on to the next one, this is not going to be saved. So make sure to click on that update score. So I click on that update score. You can see now my final score changed to 8.67 for this student. And I click update score, so that saves. I can move on to grade my next student that has a submission. This is my test student that has a submission, has 5 points. I'm going to give this student 1 point extra. And just a quick demo, if I don't click update scores, I'm going to move to the next student and I'm going to go back really quick to my test student. The fudge points that I had added are gone. So make sure that you click that update scores button for it to be saved within the quiz and then move on to the next student. Okay. So that is how you can add extra points to an existing quiz using the fudge point. Let's talk about adding extra credit in a rubric. So let's say you have an assignment and you have a rubric tied to that assignment. So let's navigate to an assignment that requires a rubric. I just set up here my sample assignment. Place your instructions as you usually would with the amount of points that you will normally have for this assignment. So set it up, you know, look at all your settings. I'm going to cancel out of that because right here in this area is where I get to add a rubric. So let's go through that process together. I'm going to add a rubric. I already built a rubric for this assignment. So I'm going to find a rubric and I am going to locate it. Is for this draft paper rubric. I can resize this window if I need to have a better view of it before I make the decision whether or not this is the rubric I want to use. Yes, this is the one with the 4 criteria that is worth 50 points. Use this rubric. So here I have added this rubric and it's worth 50 points. Well, I want to create an extra criteria that is going to allow me to give the students 5 points extra. So I'm going to click on Edit Rubric. And right here at the bottom, I am going to add an extra criteria, the new criterion, and I am going to name it extra credit. You don't need to add a description, that is optional. Then create that criteria. And it gave me 5 points, right? I can change it. I don't have, it doesn't have to be 5 points. Maybe you said I want to keep maybe 3 points, right? Then leave the default 5 points. But make sure that everyone is going to be able to get the 50 points, right? That's what the assignment is worth. And that extra credit, right? That's just extra, but everyone could potentially get 50 points. So update the rubric, and there it is at the bottom, and that is it. And so basically, when you are going to grade these assignments, you are going to be able to use these 3 dots. I've seen some faculty that would like to be able to resize the view of the rubric, so you can use those 3 dots in the middle to drag right to the side to make these bigger. View the rubric, and now I'm going to be able to start grading my students based on each criteria, and I'm going to be able to decide whether or not they get the extra credit in there. So that's basically how you go about adding it in the rubric. Okay, let me go back. Okay, so we covered adding extra credit in the rubric. And so just a reminder, make sure the rubric is worth more than the assignment, and you can give students extra points or not without affecting the actual assignment points. Okay, this is the portion where we start thinking about creating an actual assignment that is going to be potentially optional, right? Maybe there are some extra things that the students can do in order to earn extra credit. And this is the part where we start talking about assignment groups as well. So assignment groups, you could have unweighted groups. You can have weighted groups as well. We're going to start talking about unweighted groups and creating extra credit for those unweighted groups. Unweighted groups are those that are points based. So they don't have a percentage, they're just all points. So what we're going to do, we're going to add a new group in the assignments area. And we're going to call it extra credit. And we're going to create assignments, so bring assignments in there that are worth 0 points. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to close out of this one, get back into modules. I'm going to go into assignments. As you may remember, assignments is where we add work on these assignment groups. So just, you can take a look. I have a section called practice activities. I have one called assignments. I have one called participation activities and another one called quizzes. Yours may look different, right? Based on what you have established for your specific course. I need to add a new group. This is a points-based course at the moment, right? You can see I'm not assigning percentages anywhere in any of my groups. I'm going to add a group, and I'm going to call this group extra credit. When you create new groups, they get saved right at the very bottom. Actually, one is at the very top. And I can create a new assignment, or I can drag a new assignment. I already have one in here as a sample. So I'm just going to drag it here. It's a new assignment. I call it extra credit assignment 1. Let's click on that. So when I create, when I'm working with unweighted assignment groups and I need to create extra credit, I'm going to create that extra credit group. I am going to add assignments that are worth 0 points. And what I am going to do is I am going to tell my students in the instructions, if you turn in, right, you will phrase it anyway, that works for you, but I'm just going to say if you turn in these assignments, you will be able to get, let's say, 10 points. right? So in the instructions, I'm telling the student what the assignment is worth. I am not going to type it in here in the settings of the assignment, but I'm going to type it in the instructions. And the reason I do that is also because I want to make sure that I grade these after I have graded everything else that my students have to do in the class. So please remember that you want to grade these at the end after you have graded everything else, so that the math that Canvas does to calculate students' grades doesn't get, disrupted by these extra credits. So you want to grade everything else that is in the course before you grade these extra assignments. And then you will be able to add the score that each student gets if they complete that assignment. Okay. So that's what I have in here. Should be graded at the end of the course after all other course assignments are graded. So please remember that. Now, the other option is, let's say you are working with weighted assignments, right? If you're working with percentages in your group, you can see in the screenshot, quizzes are worth 40%, discussions are worth 20%, and then extra credit is worth 5%. So that's when we're talking about weighted assignments. You have assigned percentages to each of your groups in your assignments. We're gonna go back into Canvas, and I'm gonna show you how you can add those percentages. We were working on an unweighted assignment groups. Now let's turn this into weight. So assignment groups weight, right there, the 3 vertical dots at the top. I am going to weight final grade based on assignment group. It immediately shows all the assignment groups that I have. And now I just need to decide what percentages I'm going to give everything. So let's start playing this. So this is 40% so far. Let's see, maybe 20% for that. So that is 60. Oops, an extra 0, 8%. Let's add maybe 20 here. And let's add assignments. Let's add one more. Oh, sorry. Right, 30. Okay, there we go. So I already have a total. Let me resize this window again. So I have a total of 100% before I do the extra credit. So now that I have 100%, I'm going to do extra credit. I'm going to say extra credit is going to be 5%. I need to make sure that the extra credit is showing above that 100%. Click Save. And now that is reflected on each assignment group. Now for the assignment, if you have one or more than one, you need to make sure that if you have more than one assignment, if you have one, make sure that you give points. In this instance, for weighted assignments, you actually want this assignment to have points. So I'm going to type in there 10 points. Let me go back here. So for this instance, you do want to have points on this group. If you need to have more assignments that belong to the extra credit group, they don't need to show points in here, but you need at least one assignment, one extra credit assignment worth points, right? The other ones don't have to reflect any points in here, but you need to have at least one, which is the one that I have in there, which is what I have in here. Add new assignments with associated point values. Okay, some best practices. These are friendly reminders. Decide what is the best option in your case to assign students extra credit. Did you need to assign credit to existing assignments or to existing quiz? Like maybe it's not something that the students have to turn in, like it's not something extra that they have to develop and turn in. Maybe you just want to add extra credit because of participation and you just want to add it to something that already exists. Or do you want the students to produce something new that they need to upload and that will award them that extra credit? So you need to decide what is your best option. Assignments for extra credit must be housed and should be housed within their own assignment group. That way they're easier to identify as well. And also for the calculations that Canvas is going to do, especially if you're using weighted groups. Assignments in the extra credit assignment group should be graded at the end of the course, ideally, so that the math doesn't really get disrupted in Canvas. And then adding that extra credit in rubrics, make sure that you have all the criteria pointing at, let's say, 100 points, and that extra credit is going to be just extra points, like 3 extra points out of that 100 points or 5 extra credits, so that it doesn't affect students for not fulfilling that extra credit criteria. So there we go. So we have some information about training, just a friendly invitation. This week we are focusing on gradebook, assignment weights, and grading schemes. So feel free to join our remaining trainings for